Hello, I'm back. I am with my trusty coffee, no sweatshirt today. I am talking about leveling up and fear. Um, they go hand in hand whether you know it or not. And I learned that the very long, arduously hard way. When I started in insurance, you may or may not know the story. I sucked. I wasn't good at insurance. I wasn't good at sales. I didn't have any sales training or processes. I didn't really understand what I was selling. So selling something you don't know what the fuck it is a little bit difficult. And then on top of that, I had fear. I was afraid. Honestly, when I look back on it, I can pinpoint lots of different fears, which I will go through. But when I think back to when I first started, it was just fear. There were so many fears that there really wasn't a way to pinpoint one. Like I would get into a situation, like I would go to a networking event and I would stand up and do my elevator pitch, and I was absolutely fucking terrified. So, okay, pinpointed a fear. Picking up the phone and doing a cold call, absolutely terrified. But what was the actual fear behind all of those things? I wasn't clear on that at the time. I hadn't gone through my big transformation. I was still just living the 3D, living the basic bitch life that I was in, trying to do better. I really wanted to make a lot of money and spoil the people that I loved, but I didn't know how to take care of myself. I didn't know how to show up at work. I didn't know sales. I didn't know networking. I didn't know myself. I didn't know anything. So doing anything above where I was impossible in that moment. But as I grew, as I worked towards things, I started to figure it out. So what I want to talk to you about is the process of leveling up and what that actually means and why it's important, and some steps to do that, and some of the things that you need to be watching out for. So, for example, when I first started in insurance, didn't know anything, didn't know sales, didn't know insurance, didn't know myself, didn't know networking, didn't understand technology. I still don't. Just ask anybody around me. Shout out to anybody who has to deal with Gail when she is working in technology. Woo, big props to you. I was literally just signing the insurance for Upskill with my old boss, my old insurance boss, and he kept sending me things in formats that I didn't understand. And I was like, dude, do you not still have PTSD from when I worked for you with all of this technology bullshit? Like, you got to hold my hand, you got to do all of the heavy lifting as far as like the technology stuff. I'll sign it, I'll pay for it, I'll give you information. But as soon as you start handing me PDFs and telling me to figure out how to translate them and make letterhead out of it, no, I'm out. So anyway, sidebar about my neophyte technology aspects. But anyway, so, where was I? Let's think. Where was I? Where was I? Okay. So leveling up. So my first career move into insurance, didn't know anything. And then I started figuring it out. So I was at a small family-owned brokerage doing insurance. So I was doing home and auto. I was doing and small commercial. And I started figuring out the home and auto pretty quickly. I wasn't like a master at it. I didn't know everything. But it was pretty easy. My boss told me some things to do, which didn't really make sense until I went out and did them. And then I was like, okay, well, it's starting to make sense. And honestly, anything anyone told me to do, I didn't have the right mindset to implement anything. So let me explain. For example, my boss, the one who was trying to help me with technology, was like, go get a mortgage broker. Okay, well, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know why I needed a mortgage broker. Like, what was that going to do? So I went and met a few. I don't remember exactly how I did it, probably through networking, or I did some cold call drops or asked somebody for an intro, you know. And I was I started hanging out with them. And you know what I did? I made really good friends with them. They're really nice people. But guess what? None of them sent me any deals. Not until I started asking for deals. I didn't know I was supposed to ask. I didn't know anything. Literally, I knew nothing. So you think like, oh, I'm a good employee, I'll just keep my job. Or, oh, I do my job well, I'll just make extra money. Like, no, you have to like be your own advocate in all things, especially sales. Especially sales. You really, 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 really have to be able to be your own advocate, ask for the sale, ask for help, ask for support, ask for information. Because people, and especially in my industry, a lot of times they just don't really understand what they're giving you. And sometimes people need to know why they're giving you stuff so they know what they're looking for and maybe to feel safe giving you that information. So you have to be like communicative. And, there's just a lot that goes into that. But lost my train of thought again. Hold on, let me take a sip of coffee. Sustenance. Um, So when so he told me to go get a mortgage broker. Sorry about that. So he told me to go get a mortgage broker. I did. I never asked for the deals, so I didn't get any. And and then I started asking, and I got told no a lot. And then I didn't understand why. And in the mindset that I had back then, I just made the assumption that it was me. I was too new. I didn't know enough. I wasn't qualified. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't a man. I wasn't, I hadn't been at my job long enough or my company or whatever, or insurance. There was just a lot that I just assumed was me because that was the mindset that I had that I was not worthy, basically. I went through a lot of different situations throughout my life that reinforced that statement that I was not worthy. And I grew up in a very simple life, great upbringing, great family. But the lifestyle that we had was one of pinching pennies and using absolutely everything possible before you thought about ever pulling your wallet out to go buy something new. And obviously, it was a different time then where things were fixable. They weren't crap made in China that you just threw out when you were done. They didn't break as frequently, so you didn't have to buy things new as often. So, a little bit of a different lifestyle, different time, but really the the maximization of that childhood into my adulthood just kept compounding with different experiences, whether it was because of my upbringing or because of the religion we were brought up in, or, dating situations that everybody has to go through. But when I went through them, they reinforced negative opinions of myself. So then you put someone like that into a sales job who really wants that freedom and really wants to provide and make money and help people and really do well at that job. But if they're in a situation where they don't feel good enough to actually be there, what kind of, they can't produce a whole lot. I mean, I was I was doing okay because people liked me. And at that point, I wasn't leaning into me. I was just winging shit. Still didn't have a sales process. I didn't have any organizational tools. I didn't know anything. So I was doing okay. And then I started doing small commercial, like leaning more into that because my boss told me that that was where more money was. Less headaches, more money. So then I started leaning into that. And I did okay there. I did okay. And not amazing, but I still had a very negative mindset in myself. And then I went through a significant tragedy and it rocked my world. It literally ripped away all of the things that I knew. My, when if you just like think about like your day to day, like, okay, last week was like this, last month was like this, next month is like this, in a year I'll probably be doing this, 3 years ago I was doing this. It's fairly similar. You're the same people are around for the most part. You're in the same career or the same type of job or the same level of income, give or take a couple of grand here or there. You know what I mean? Like that was the kind of life I was in. Not that that's for everybody, but the kind of life that I was in was very similar and it was stable. It felt stable. It was not because I didn't have stability, but it felt stable because it was something that I knew and it was just what I was used to. It was familiar. So when the situation happened, it ripped away all of that fake stability. And then I realized that it was fake. And I realized that all of these things were happening because I had not purposely lived my life. I was just kind of wandering around looking for handouts, basically. I wasn't going into rooms, owning them, commanding them, telling people how awesome I am at my job and why I'm the best person for the job. I was just like, well, if you don't have anybody else to give it to, I'll take it kind of vibe. Like, ew. Ew on dating like that, ew on friends like that, ew on jobs like that, and clients like, ew. So that was just how I lived. That was just who I was. I didn't think I deserved a whole lot, so that's how I approached everything. I didn't know I was doing it that way. That was just me. And so when this situation happened, this really bad, awful situation happened, and I started shifting out of that, I also then started leveling up my thinking, and which is when I got recruited to go to a big corporate firm. And holy shit, was that a level up? Like, holy shit. Just the base salary doubled what I was making and then some. And it really isn't that much money, but it did double, excuse me, it did double my income and then some by the time I factored in the commissions that I ended up making. But was, it was such a huge leap. I almost didn't make it through the interview process. And not because they didn't want me, because I didn't think I belonged there. I had such low opinion of not just myself, but what I was capable of and what was possible for me. Excuse me. And what I thought was possible for me was so minimal, which was why I was subsisting in this other job, which I loved. And I'm still friends with that guy. So it has nothing to do with this job itself. It had to do with me and the way I was showing up. And so when I got this job, I finally was like, you know what? I'm just going to prove to myself that I can do this. Even if I don't get the job, it'll be a learning experience on how to interview. That was what I did. I just looked at it as an opportunity to learn how to interview. It was 2.5 months of interviews, which I didn't realize that's what happened normally. But, the people that I was around at the time were like, oh, you have one or two interviews in a week or two, and then you're hired versus like 2.5 months of 12 interviews with multiple people, with coaching, with role playing, with like, quizzing you on your past, your present, your future, your knowledge, like all of that. And it was very intimidating. And it was something that I hadn't experienced before, which was such a huge level up. So I almost quit. I didn't. I was just going to use it as a learning opportunity. I ended up getting the job. Then I almost didn't take the job because I was like, who am I to make that kind of money? It wasn't even that much. I mean, it was a lot of money. It's not small, but it was a decent amount of money. But it was so much more money than I ever thought I could have. And so then I did it. And then thanks to learning things like from corporations, they have very good systems in place that most of them work for most people, or parts of them work for most people. It was very important for my success. And the fact that I had an amazing boss was very integral in my success. But those are not the reasons that I succeeded. Those were reasons that helped me succeed, but they were not the reasons that I succeeded. I succeeded only because I decided to bet on myself. I took this win, I was like, okay, well, something shifted. I decided that I wasn't going to put up with XYZ anymore. I went through this situation. I went through multiple situations, which I will talk about at some point in the podcast, but I went through multiple situations that had me make decisions. Am I going to stay in this lifestyle, in this situation? Am I going to allow myself to be talked to like this, or treated like this, or keep a job like this, or make this little money? or have these perpetual situations continually happening to me. Negative situations with friends or family, or maybe it's, like getting close to winning something and continually losing. Like, obviously, I'm the problem if it's not just one-offs here and there. We all lose sales. But if every single sale you go up against, you lose, you're the problem. So I was the problem. I wasn't losing them all, but I was losing a lot. And lots of different reasons for that. So when I got to this job, I decided that I was going to continue to bet on myself. I had already leveled up quite a bit of stuff, but I was still stuck in lack, scarcity, and self-worth issues. So I signed up for a 14-week coaching program. It was not cheap, and I was lucky enough to be able to go for free because I had a friend who signed up for it and paid the full price. And it was a surprise to her when she signed up that she got to bring a friend for free. So it was like, bring a free accountability partner. And I took it very seriously. I was in that thing as in as you could be. It was life changing, this training program. And I changed everything about myself. I was recently on this guy's podcast. He's amazing. His name is Jim Fortin, if you want to check him out. I was on episode 420. If you want to listen to my story, please do. He's an amazing coach. I was so nervous doing that because I just have so much respect for him that I didn't do as good of a job as I could have. I didn't talk about as much of the transformation as I really could have, but you do get a really good sense of where I started and where I am now. But going into this corporate job was kind of like the main stepping stone. It happened very simultaneously of me getting into this coaching program, and I leveled the fuck up. That year, I doubled my income and then some. And then I got promoted. And then I doubled my income again. And then I got sick of the corporate bullshit and I moved to a better company. And then I doubled my income again. And I learned a lot about myself every single time. Every single time I changed, I had to change something about myself. Every single time I changed my income level, I had to change. I couldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to redo this process. I mean, to a degree, sales is sales. And, if you're showing up as yourself in your best efforts, things will happen for you. But when you're leveling up, you have to level up your process, your strategy, who you're talking to. I had to basically start over every time I got a job or got promoted. Because when I started at this company, I was an insurance salesman. I had to go up a level, but I also had to do things differently. So it was just such a massive change for me. I can't even explain to you how massive it is. But I had to go up a level. So the people that I were my referral partners were no longer my referral partners. I wasn't doing home and auto anymore, for one. And the small commercial that I was doing was much bigger small commercial. There was a level that you had to hit before you could write it. And then when I got promoted to middle market, the level went up a lot, like a lot, where I wasn't talking to business owners anymore. I was talking to CFOs because the business owner and the CEOs weren't really the kind of people that were going to be out networking and weren't going to be answering cold calls from me. So I had to reposition myself and my networking and my sales strategies in order to get in front of these people. Like, holy shit, that was such a massive change for me. And it did not take 3 seconds to integrate. It took me a full, probably 6 to 9 months. For some reason, that's my number. I don't know why. And then when I moved to the new company, I was so burnt out, like legit. I'm still burnt out from that place. It was the best thing I ever did was taking that job and doing everything that I did there, but wouldn't go back there unless it was the last place on earth to work. Which sounds really like it was really bad, but it was less about the company structure, even though it sucked, but more about like what I need out of a job. I need more freedom and I need more support. I don't need someone holding my hand and slapping it every time I don't check a box. I need someone that's like, what do you need to be successful? Here you go. Here's your freedom. Here's your strategies. Here's the meeting that I can join, like whatever it is. Not, we need you to check 42 boxes and then we'll talk about if your sales strategies is good. And if I have time, maybe I'll join you in your meeting. Like, no, I need you to join in this particular meeting in order to be successful, but you're too busy checking boxes to actually fucking be there for me. Sorry, went off on a tangent there. But like this new company is what that is. So I get to be myself. And then that's a level up. That is a level up. If you're used to having to be harangued all day in order to like make sure, like, you know, babysat, are you doing your job? Are you box checking? Are you checking this? Are you doing that? Did you answer this email? Are you showing up to this meeting? Blah, blah, blah. Hold on. We all need to pontificate for 20 minutes about why we're important and why you're not important. And let's fearmonger a little bit. Like that was just what the job was. It's the corporate experience. It is what it is. And this job isn't like that. And I had to adjust to that because my nervous system was used to fear mongering. So that in and of itself, minus giving myself time to rest and lean into this, took a lot of time. And the level up was much more mindset and nervous system regulation than it was sales strategies. When I first went to the last corporate job or my very first corporate job, I needed to level up my mindset, I needed to level up my strategies, and I needed to level up my professionalism. And then when I took this job, I needed to level up my mindset and my nervous system regulation because I already knew how to build relationships. I knew how to talk to people. I'm very good at relationship building. I'm very good at client retention. You know, there's only so much you can do in all of those things, but generally speaking, I excel at those. What I didn't excel at was regulating my nervous system and being afraid I'm going to lose my job, afraid I'm going to disappoint my boss, like afraid that I'm going to look bad, you know, afraid I'm not going to make enough money, like afraid I'm going to end up in a situation where it's the same bullshit that I was dealing with before. Fear, 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 more fear. Now the fear was less like, oh, am I good enough? Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to get hung up on when I cold call, like it was when I first started, to now I've grown my career to such a level. What a loss. Like, what a loss if I decided, like, if I somehow didn't manage to maintain this somehow. You know, maybe I fucked something up, or maybe I'm not good enough. The imposter syndrome comes in and the fear, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. That old self-worth little monster is still talking to me in my ear sometimes and I have to regulate it. That is what the level up in this time was for me. So every time I change jobs or change careers or change what level I'm working in. Like going from never doing insurance to doing small home and auto was a level up. I needed to figure that out. I needed to figure out cold sales. I'd never done cold sales before. And then when I leveled up from that to small commercial, I needed to level up how I talk to people because talking to a homeowner is very different than talking to a business owner. It's not just a different conversations, but it's a different level of professionalism. And then when I leveled up the size of businesses that I was dealing with, I had to level up my knowledge, my professionalism, the talk tracks I did, the strategies, how to get in front of them. But I also had to regulate my mindset and my nervous system in order to provide the right environment for those to be successful conversations because they weren't necessarily going well prior to that because I didn't know what I was doing. And that's okay. You always move forward with what you know. And there's no fault in not knowing what you don't know. However, when you know that there's something missing, now there's a fault on you if you don't do anything about it. Okay, I knew that I needed to level up from home and auto to small commercial. I did the work. I took the classes. I learned whatever it was. I changed up my networking. I changed up my talk tracks. I hired a coach, like whatever it was. I did the work to get there. But it wasn't my fault I didn't know that before that. But it is if I continued down that path, knowing that I needed to level things up, knowing that I needed support, whether it was a coach, one to one, or maybe I needed a group program Or maybe I needed a mentor, or maybe I needed, like Upskill has a free community. If you're not in the mood or in the market for taking courses or workshops, go to the free community. Talk to other women that are in sales or business development that have to do networking, that are out in the professional world. They're dealing with overwhelm. They're dealing with burnout. They're dealing with stress. They're dealing with male dominated societies. They're dealing with heavy workloads at home and at work. They're dealing with having to navigate people's personalities. They're dealing with having to figure out, do I want to keep this job? Do I want a different company? Do I want a different job? Do I want a different career? How do I make more money? How do I ease up my career load while making less money, but still being happy? Like, there's so many different things that we're all trying to do in our careers, and our free community will address all of those things. We have tips and tricks and tactics and fun quizzes. And, you'll get to meet all these other badass women in there that are in the same position as you, that are doing the same shit that you are, that all have the same question marks, that are stuck at a level, they're plateaued, they want to get to the next level, whether it's going from sales to management or going from management back to sales or just trying to get through a hard week. Like, there's some weeks, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on it. I had a bad man week. I love men. I love working with men. I love doing business with men, but man, I was just kind of pounded a little bit by the like disrespect of dealing with men sometimes. They don't mean it. They're just being men, which, you know what? We love them. We love men. But I just had a hard man week. And you know what? The next week I had a hard woman week. I had some catty shit happen at my job. And I was like, it was fine. It was small, nothing major, nothing that I'm like gonna talk about, but it was just some small catty women shit. And I'm like, okay, see, women aren't any better. We all have our faults and we have to deal with each other. And, maybe I'll do a podcast about that, about personality conflicts. But anyway, that's all I have to say today. I really just wanted to let you know that when you're getting to the next level, there was a lot of work that has to be done. So it can't just be like, oh, I got a promotion, fuck it, I'm good. No, no, you got to learn how to run a meeting. You got to learn how to talk differently. You got to learn how to deal with bigger personalities, and can you handle that bigger money that you're going to make? If you can't, learn, figure it out, do the nervous system regulation, do some meditations, like do some work on yourself, read some books. If you need recommendations on a specific type of level up problem that you're having, if it's the money, if it's the fear, if it's, leveling up your talk tracks or like whatever it is, jump in the community and shoot me a message in there. I'll give you books that I've read. I'll give you podcasts that helped. If one of our coaches in there is good for one-to-one or has group programs, or one of our courses is good for that, I'll recommend one of those as well. Like, I'll just give you a list of things that might work for whatever your problem is. So get in there. It's a fun group. All of our contributors are in there talking to you. So it might not just be me. You'll see the word moderator. That means that it's one of our contributors in there. It's either moderator or admin would be someone that is actually an upskill person, like owner or affiliated with us. Otherwise, moderators are your coaches. Like, let them coach you. They're really smart women. They're in there for a reason. They're really, really good. They've leveled up their careers one way, shape, or another. They've shifted their careers to make it work for them. And that's really all we're trying to do. We're out here trying to be happy. We're trying to make our days better. We're trying to, get our life together and go home and not be like, holy fucking shit, what a day that was. Like, those happen, but like, we shouldn't be doing that every day. That is one of the reasons I left my last job, because every single day was heavy. And that's not what life is meant to be like. You need a new career, you need a new job, you need a break, you need something. Maybe you need to shift the way that you're showing up, or shift how you're handling things. Sometimes it's not them, it's you. Sometimes it's not you, it's them. It just depends. But we're there to help you. Write what you're going through. We're there to help you. Have people support you in there. So I guess that's it. I'm gonna finish my coffee. It's now cold, but because I was having so much fun talking to you. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm very grateful that you're here. Join our community. reach out to me, ask me questions. I want to be there to help you. My whole goal is to help. I want to help everybody. I was in your position. I'll be in your position again. I might even be in it right now. Who knows? Just get in there, talk to everybody, and we'll be in there for you. We'll help you. And the other women in there might be going through it. You can find some friends, some buddies, whatever. But I got you. And I hope you're having an amazing day. And if not, I'm sending you a lot of love. Have a great day.